Hey YouTube. So I've seen a lot of hype recently about these Phatmoto bikes, and I had to hop in and see what they were like, but there wasn't a lot of videos or kind of any details about it online right now, so I figured I'd just go ahead and make a little video of kind of what I like about it and kind of troubles, woes, and the wins I've had with it in case anybody else is looking at it. It's a good bike. I think you can get it off of gasbike.com or gasbike.net. It's pretty good. It's like 700 bucks shipped. I think there's a $40 discount going on right now. Customer service there is absolutely terrible, so just keep that in mind when you go. If you give them a call, you might be on hold for a really long time. If you send them an email, it'll take at least a day to get back. One word of advice: if you are buying a bike and your billing address for your card, if you use one, is different than your shipping address, then they will ask you to verify your identity, send them the card number and a copy of your driver's license. It's a little weird, but it'll definitely delay it. Other than that, shipping speed was great. I want to say about 3 or 4 days to get it in the mail. I think I bought it on Memorial Day and I got it in the mail on Saturday, so pretty cool. Out of the box, it comes together with the rear tire. You have to put the front tire on, which is pretty easy. You have to put the handlebars on, which is pretty easy. You have to put the seat on, which is pretty easy. And you have to put the engine on, which is pretty easy as well. I'm not super duper mechanically inclined, but I would say it took me about an hour and a half, taking my time and making sure everything was tightened. From the get-go, a couple of things. Front brakes on these shipped out, they're total garbage. You're gonna want to swap them out as soon as you can. Just the braking force on them is terrible. What I did was go ahead and replace it with something I already had lying around. So I put on some Shimano hydraulic brakes on it, and kind of like on the e-bikes I ride, night and day difference. I think it cost 20 bucks for the caliper, pads, the whole shebang. Fits the stock disc on it, so it's pretty good. I really like it. You can see just the play on it with the braking force it gives you. Much better than the stock ones. Likewise, the back here, these rim brakes leave a lot to be desired. They're super squishy. When they were shipped, actually, the pads, this right pad was okay. This left pad was completely out of alignment, and after riding it about an hour, you can kind of see it's not really sitting flat there either. So I would go ahead and recommend replacing these as well. You can get a decent set of brake pads off of Amazon for about 7 or 8 bucks shipped. Taking a step back, there's no way you're going to be pedaling this thing. I mean, I tried pedaling it just to the gas station to get oil and gas her up for the first time. You've kind of got this single speed setup, and it's hard. I mean, the chain and everything is super duper tight. I don't know if you're really going to use this at all. It's mostly for looks. Other things that kind of come to top of mind. I've seen a couple of other complaints with other videos. So, like the exhaust gets a little hot, but that's okay. My frame came pretty good. No pain issues. No real issues with it at all. Chain's tight. It's not too bad. I will say from the get-go, first impressions after riding it about 2 hours, the first one is it's really slow. They advertise out the box that it's got about a 25 mile an hour top speed. I don't believe that at all. I would say probably going my first ride stock, bone stock, maybe 20 on a good day on flat ground. The motor really struggles, so, and that surprised me a lot, especially for a 79cc. I was expecting it to go a little bit better. So what I went ahead and did was I did the governor bypass mod, which you'll see in other videos. What that entails is basically you twist the throttle and throttle opens and you get the whole shebang. You get the carburetor in full play. But when the motor speeds up, there's an internal governor that pushes this rod here and basically snuffs the motor. So you'll get going about 20 and it will just turn off. Super bummer. What you can do there is there are a couple of holes here and the throttle hole. You can take what was recommended in another video. See if I can get a focus on this. You can get paint or a painting wire behind it and actually just go through the holes a couple of times. So I put it through here twice. I left the springs on, and what that does is it hooks up the throttle lever with the governor. So when you're holding her wide open throttle, it doesn't allow this to actually go away from it and turn it off. So that's what will actually happen is you'll give it wide open throttle and then all of a sudden the governor will nerf it essentially. So doing that though, it actually picks up quite a bit of speed. I'd say it goes from about 20 miles an hour, at least how this shipped, to maybe low to mid 30s. Definitely fun and a night and day difference. Overall, I love it. Started up on the second pole. As soon as you get it, make sure you drain out the oil that comes with it. The oil, definitely crap. Well, what came out of it from the factory was maybe maybe an eighth of a quart, and it just looked like it was garbage. I put in a synthetic blend. It took about maybe 2/3 of a quart. Not bad. Filled up the tank. It's all good. No issues with the paint on it. Life is good. If you're riding it on the streets, definitely recommend getting something in the way of a like turn signals or something. This was again on Amazon, a little turn signal doohickey. Pretty dang cool. I think it was like 15 bucks. Solid headlight on it, and you're in good shape. But overall, pretty good. I'm not gonna start her up because we're indoors, but as far as, putting it together, I really like it. I've already gotten, a lot of compliments. The aesthetics are pleasing. The motor just seems like it could give, so much more. And I don't know if it's because the sprocket in the back is, obnoxiously big. And the jack shaft, I don't have the cover off, but it's a huge reduction. I mean, it goes from a huge pulley to a tiny, I want to say 10 tooth gear or cog. It's pretty cool, but I don't know if there are any aftermarket parts for this yet, but when there are, that'll be cool, and it'll go a long way to getting some actual leverage behind this thing. Hills, it freaking demolished a couple of hills with the speed limiter removed. Very fun. Other than that, it's a pretty great bike. I mean, it doesn't smell. It's a little loud. Gas, I mean, I just got back from a probably hour and a half long ride, maybe 30 miles or so, and she's barely even drank. So that's pretty cool. All in all, pretty dang good. I like it. The shocks are pretty weak, just as far as, everything goes. You get what you pay for, and she's a decent bike. As long as grievances are still on the table, though, this twist throttle freaking ridiculously tight. I mean, you really have to crank it to get her to open up. But she's pretty cool. All in all, I would say, customer service aside, it shipped in 2 packages. It was easy to put together. It seems like a great bike. It seems like the parts they chose outside of the motor and the drivetrain were fairly low quality. That's pretty easy to replace and fix. This throttle I want to play with and get it going a little bit better. But yeah, you'll hear on a couple of other videos, you do this governor removal mod. Um, it could blow up your motor or something. I just got back from a ride where I was holding her wide open for a better part of an hour. Um, Not too big of an issue there, but time will tell. So I'll probably post a couple of other videos on it. I really want to do something with this air box to get some more air into it. I might take this cover off and Dremel it a little bit, just to get something bigger. I saw from another couple of videos that the parts have a tendency to rust, so I would not recommend driving this in the rain at all. um, the clutch issues, I've read a lot going on with the clutch. Mine is a little noisy, but it seems like it's holding, it's not overheating, it's not obnoxiously loud, it just kind of pings and rings a little bit, and that might be, something that's just to be normal, I suppose. You have to oil it here and there, at least lube up the cog or the gear that's behind the clutch. Haven't had to do that yet, but all in all, pretty happy. One thing, it did come with this stock spark plug. When I did do the governor bypass on it, I was riding over some kind of rough terrain and the spark plug popped off, so I kind of lost my ride. Thought for the worst, but it was a pretty easy fix and I'm pretty happy there. I hear there's a upgrade that we can make to the carburetor, so I'd like to go ahead and do that. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased for 700 or 660 bucks, shipped to your door. You get what you pay for, and I think they put a lot of effort into the frame, which seems solid. The drivetrain, which seems solid. I'd like some aftermarket options on these, the jack shaft especially. The motor has a lot, so I'm wondering if it would be cool to like get in a little transmission or something here that we could play with, so we could get a couple of gears. I don't know if that's possible. It really seems like this thing is spinning way too big of a gear in the back. But that's just my opinion. I do like that the sprocket at least is actually bolted and integrated to the axle, and it's not a one that you clamp between the spokes on the rim. So that's pretty dang cool. Yeah, as far as the build though, that I've read that the tires are fairly cheap. At least they feel pretty dang soft, and they're quasi mountain bike tires. So you could probably get something with street tread, would have a little more grip and a little less rolling resistance, and get a little bit more top speed there. It looks like they went with 12 gauge spokes on the rim. That is solid. You're not going to be pedaling it at all. It's seriously difficult. But it looks cool, I guess. And you can give it a little bit of help when you're coming off of a light or something. So it's pretty good. But all in all, pretty dang stoked. I'll take a riding video. If I have issues with the clutch, I'm going to replace the clutch. If anybody has an idea for the carburetor that we can upgrade, that'd be sweet. It's rocking ridiculously close to the petcock that's coming out of the gas tank, so I'm not sure how much I can really do with this. It'd be cool, I suppose, to get a carburetor that comes out to the left, and we could put like a little air can on that, or an air filter, cone-shaped air filter on that. That'd be cool. Other thing, leave the video with. The exhaust, when you turn it on, it's not loud. It's actually surprisingly quiet, and I liked it. It's good for not pissing off your neighbors. But as soon as you get this thing going, it is like a bat out of hell. The exhaust faces forward, which is good because it buffets into the wind. And if you can flip this around, but then it's going to make your pant leg, which is right here, smell the high hell of gas. So if you're riding it anywhere, you're going to show up reeking. So that's something to be aware of. But for me, I mean, I'm an e-bike enthusiast, so to have something that has the range that I'm looking for, 100 miles or so to a tank, 120 miles a gallon, that can go 30 to 35 easy, so I'm not terrified in traffic. That's what we're kind of looking for. All in all, I'd give it a buy. I'd say if you can get it for the 640, 660, go for it. 700, it's a pretty good deal. Some upgrades you'll have to make. I would budget in another $100 or so. Get yourself some hydraulic brakes. It's night and day. I'm gonna try to see if I can figure out a better option for this rear brake. I don't know if there's gonna be room for a rear caliper, probably not, but maybe I can get something with a little more force down here. Maybe these brake pads that I have coming will be a little bit better than the ones that came stock, because these ones are kind of crapola. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased. I'd say when you're putting her together, put the seat on, put the handlebars on, put the tire on, replace the caliper, replace your brake lever, get yourself a light, get yourself some turn signals. Make sure you put the engine when you mount it on these little slots. Mount it as far back as you can. Put the jack shaft chain on and slide her up forward. And then this fuel line, I don't know if it's an issue right now. I got my throttle, a little bit of extra on there. Might consider clipping that, right there. I don't know if you'll ever use more, but she's not getting in the way right now. This fuel line's a little bit short, I would say. It just goes under the air box. Maybe want to get like a longer fuel line, or at least something that can, not at least be on the fuel box. But I mean, all said and done, governor removed, she's a fun bike. With the governor installed as stock, you're gonna go so bored with this so fast. You'll get it up to speed, it's gonna be freaking screaming, and you're gonna be going 20, 22 miles an hour. And I was pretty bummed out about that. Take the governor off, you're pretty dang stoked. Still has a ton of gear in it, so I mean, you get up going like 30, 33, maybe 35. And I feel like she's got so much more. I want to say if it's possible to get a bigger sprocket up here on the back end of this jack shaft and leave this one stock. There's plenty of play with this chain tension in it. You could probably get 1 or 2 teeth up front, maybe get you up into the high 30s, and just pedal a little bit and you'll be in good shape. But that's all for one video. Sorry for talking your ears off. Phatmoto, great bike, terrible customer service, fast shipping, cheap parts, replace the ones you can, get the accessories to make her safe, and you'll probably have a lot of fun. I will post a couple more videos when I get this thing on the streets again. But she started up on her second pull. No complaints there. Somebody else had posted a video. He was fairly disgruntled. He actually got screwed by gas bike. They just shipped him. I think he was leaking out of here, and they asked him to like JB weld it and sand it. So pretty much everything that I like about the bike right now, that it's presentable and looks good, he got screwed out of. Front brake rotor was warped, I think. Freaking shipping, it dropped his motor or something, so his clutch was broken. You can see him on YouTube. He's fairly disgruntled. But he did bring up a good point about this pole throttle. He asked like for Phatmoto to like redesign it. They probably won't do that, but a good idea I thought was you can get yourself an inch of Velcro and you can go ahead, maybe even that like super Velcro to hard plastic kind, and you can put yourself some there and then some there, and just like, you know, and that'll keep it out of your leg at least, or you know, I don't know how you want to do it, but you can do something there if you try. Maybe like up front like that, so it's out of your way, but whatever works. I want to say get a new spark plug, but I'm just talking your off at this point. Happy riding to any other Phatmoto riders out there, and I'll keep you posted as we go on. Cheers.